So I know we've been discussing, but let's have another chat about it outside sometime and see how we speed these high court cases up. There's 74 of them remaining at the moment. The breakdown of those by the year of arrest is 1997, there's 2, 2005, there's 2, 2006, there's 7, 2007, there's 2, 2008, there's 14, 2009, there's 23, 2010, there's 5, 11, there's 7, and 12, there's 4, 14, there's 3, 15, there's 4, and 16, there's 1. The break... They're probably, I agree. They're probably, I take your point. But it's in the court process. Of them, 7 are Sinhala, 63 are Tamil, and 4 are Muslim. So it's not all, the terrorism is not only targeting Tamil or anything there. There are 18 cases that are pending action by the Attorney General. So we're working with the AG to institute action there as fast as possible. But then now the Honourable Leader of the Opposition also spoke of moving some of these cases from Vaunia to Anuradhapura and the effects it's having. Actually, this, I believe, was done in very good faith. It may not be working out, but the reason was to have 2 special courts, one in Colombo and one in Anuradhapura, to hear through only the PTA cases and expedite these. If there's a problem with that, let's discuss it. It's a little, we'll wait for the Justice Minister to return, and we will discuss it with her as well as the Minister of Prisons and Prison Reforms. And let's work out the way forward on these cases so that we get the 74 cases heard quick. No, not a problem.
Point that I have made and I have repeatedly made is that you yourself admit that the Prevention of Terrorism law is an obnoxious law and it must be repealed.
I'm coming to that.
That's the commitment you have made to the United Nations Human Rights Council.
I told you my response.
All these persons have been arrested under that law. They have been investigated under that law. Confessions have been extracted under that law. They have been charged under that law. Proceedings have been conducted in court under that law, and they have been convicted under that law. This is the law which you admit is obnoxious, draconian, and must be repealed. How on earth can persons continue to be held in custody under the Prevention of Terrorism law?
Mr.
The whole thing must be wiped out.
Allow me to
you say the law is bad. The law is not a law that ensures justice being done. On the contrary, it's a law that ensures that injustice is done by accused persons. Then you must release those persons. And the question we raise further is, you will not dispute the fact that in every one of these cases, the accused person is being charged with an offense that he has committed for political reasons, not for personal benefit. Largely because the national issue had not been addressed and resolved in an acceptable way. If there is a political dimension, it must be looked at politically. In the 1970s, in the 1980s,
Mr. Deputy Speaker,
prisoners were released
to continue
during the JVP insurrection because there was a political dimension. Why don't you look at it in that way?
Okay.
Giving us numbers in regard to persons in custody is not helpful. You must look at it from the point of view of one,
Honourable
the Prevention of Terrorism law being repealed, and consequently all steps taken under that law must be regarded as invalid.
He's answering that separately now.
Political dimension must be addressed.
Okay.
It's a political issue.
Microphone.
We are becoming unpopular amongst our people
Minister, you can
because our people feel that we are not standing up for them, that we are not impressing upon the government, that the government must act in this matter. Therefore we want a decision in regard to this matter at the earliest. In the course of the next 1 week or 10 days, there must be a decision made. And it must be a decision made on the basis that there is a political direction and the prevention of terrorism law is bad. Everything done under that law is bad.
You must listen to me, sir, because
you
I have
can
tremendous
make your
respect for
submission
you.
now. Yes.
And I told you at the beginning, my answer is going to be twofold. One is about the detainees, two is what we are going to do with the new law. But if you, if you go through the 74 cases,
Yeah.
I don't think you or I can take a decision on these cases because these all have to do with assassination attempts or somebody, people have died at the end of this. There have been, so there are I can table these 74 cases. These are not cases that I can hear a case on. But we are trying to work through this and towards bringing in, the PTA was brought in at a time that the LTT crisis was at a height. Now times have changed. Terrorism has changed. The threats on Sri Lanka have moved with times, and we are looking at the current day threats. So in that context, we started looking at a new law, and the Prime Minister appointed a committee. I chaired most of those meetings, and we started drafting what was called the Counter-Terrorism Act. Along with that, we want to follow it up with another further act called the Organized Crimes Act that will handle matters that are outside of terrorism, that are related to organized crimes, and maybe a further act will come in to handle drugs and narcotics. But as far as the Counter-Terrorism Act, we did a draft concept, went to Cabinet. Cabinet approved it for it to come into the Oversight Committee. The Oversight Committee gave its views, came back to the committee. Committee met with various resource personnel, international organizations, the UN, the Counterterrorism Executive Directorate, the EU, various people gave us their comments. We had local discussions, and we reworked the framework, went back to Cabinet, and the Cabinet approved for it to go in for drafting to the legal draftsman. The legal draftsman has started work on it. But however, the draft CTA concept still requires a little more work. I've been waiting to talk to a few more stakeholders in it. Some of them were overseas. We were waiting for them to come back. Some areas require simpler, clearer language. There are some sections that will not meet everyone's liking. Some will say the safeguards are excessive, and some will say they are inadequate. There will always be two sides to a story. But I want to assure this House, that the government is striving to produce an act that will safeguard national security, taking into account the current threats of terrorism and current international standards. We will work this out, go back to Cabinet, and with Cabinet approval, complete the drafting process with the legal draftsman. And we hope to bring this to this House as a bill by early next year, at which time we can discuss it in the House as well. And it will be open to debate, and amendments can be moved during the discussions then. But let me assure you that we are doing this not because of any international pressure or anything, but it is a right. We have to do it for the people of this country, whichever corner of the country they may come from, and to safeguard them from terrorism. Terrorism, at the moment, the threat of terrorism is not the threat of terrorism we had 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30. Sir, may I please finish? I'm not allowing time. I want to finish, after which you may speak. But so on that basis, the new Counter-Terrorism Act will be worked out and will be presented in this House. No, that I will. I'm sure the Deputy Minister of Justice. I'm sure the Deputy Minister of Justice will reply to the Honourable Sambandhan's concern about transferring some of the cases from Vavuniya to Anuradhapura. Honestly, this was done in good faith. It was done so that these proceedings could be heard continuously, so that these 74 cases are finished quickly. It's not only in Vavuniya, there's another court in Colombo. But if there are issues with that, I'm sure we can discuss that. The Deputy Minister of Justice is here. He'll
Would you
be
like
happy
to
answer
add
that.
anything?
But to be honest, we are working on this. And we want you to also work through this with us. We understand your problems, your tremendous respect for your concerns and for you, sir. But we have to work through this. There are all sides to this which have to be ironed out.